Hello and welcome to another Albion Raw Lockdown show with me, Ady Packham, and in association with allfootballshirts.com. In this episode, I was delighted to be joined by the one and only Mark Lawrenson, who talked about quite a lot, including the football restart, his good friend Michael Robinson, and where we all go from here. Oh, and his new Barnet. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you soon for the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hello, welcome to another Albion Raw Lockdown special. This isn't a shirt of our years, but we're catching up with a great Albion hero, a legend, a man who many have said is the best player to ever have actually worn a Brighton shirt. I'm delighted to be joined, of course, by Mark Lawrenson. Thank you very much for joining us, Mark. These are very strange times. How have you found it?
Um, well, you can judge by the fact that I've got no hair. That I made a decision 2 days before lockdown just to shave the whole thing off, and then I thought, well, I'll just let it grow. And then you know what? After 2 weeks, I thought, no. So I've had my daughter's had the razor out on me and everything. But I'm good. We're all good. We're great. Family's good.
Yeah.
Everybody, all my family relations, everyone's good. So we're just a bit bored, like everybody else, I suppose.
I mean, well, obviously, I know a little bit about the old Barnet thing myself, and obviously living with obviously, I mean, you lived in Brighton for a while, so when the tide's going out,
the tide wasn't going out; it had gone out. So, yeah, but the thing is, it gives you a whole completely new life. Because where I live in Birkdale, which is Southport, which is obviously 20 miles from Liverpool. The first couple of weeks, when we were allowed out to go out, like on the bike and walking and shopping, and people would have a double take, and they sort of recognise you, but didn't recognise you. It was fun. It was fabulous. And then this bloke who I'd known for ages just went, "Is that you, Mark?" I went, "No, mate, sorry." And he honestly believed it wasn't me, but I've had some fun.
Excellent. So obviously, I mean, with this sort of time, there's been lots of debate about the football, whether it should be coming back. Brighton have been very vocal in our stance about it, and the bottom line is our view is that all the time that people are dying, it's not that important, right?
Yeah, and I think we all get that, but at some stage, I was going to say life will return to normal. Well, it won't be normal, will it? When we return fully, and it will be completely different. But I think it's like anything. I think that you've got to try and look forward. I actually believe that for people's well-being as well and stuff, to have something to look forward to is a major thing. And look, the training, they're now training with contact. This is the players of us are now training with contact. I think obviously we've been sort of watching the Bundesliga, see how they're going on, and it seems to be working. Everybody seems to be safe. So it's like baby steps, isn't it? But we've announced that they're starting on June the 17th.
Yeah.
They're getting tested every day, and all those results seem particularly good. So, softly, basically. And what I would say that, if it does start on the 17th of June, I mean, you might be an argument, maybe, that this will be the most important time for Brighton in their history. Because the one thing you don't want to do is go down, with two others, and football is going to be completely different. So it's so important if they could possibly stay in the league this year, by hook or by crook, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, we've got no issues with with the relegation side of it. But what our problem is that if it is to come back, we want it to be on the same terms as it was when we played our last game against Wolves back on March the 8th, which is same number of substitutes. But obviously, we know that fans can't be in the ground, but we want to still have the home advantage. We want to, because obviously there's the travel aspect of it. I mean, you know from being a player yourself that Anfield for you and the Goldstone Ground. You wanted to play your games there. You wanted to have the crowd behind you, and you knew the dimensions of the pitch, and you knew the groundsman. You knew everything about the place. Which with the running that we've got, we want to get every possible a bit of help that we can.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, that I mean, obviously I've played behind closed doors before in sort of pre-season kind of friendlies and all that kind of thing, and they are strange because they are not the norm. But I do believe, even though that if you are playing at home rather than the neutral ground, it still is your home. It's your own dressing room. Your routine's all the same all the time. So I think there is a home advantage. It's just not quite as much. But of course, the argument you're going to get from everybody else is it is the same for everybody. So it's a little bit like, it's, we played football 3 months ago. Now football has changed and this is a new football. And we've just sort of got to get on with it, to be honest with you. I know they're going on with Liverpool saying the day they could possibly win the league, if they're due to play at home, they might have to go and play at Manchester City. But to be honest with you, people will still go to Manchester City if you're a Liverpool fan and just hang around somewhere just to celebrate the fact if they win the league on that particular day. So it is a difficult one. But I think everyone's just got to get on with it. I think the other thing is as well is just looking at Bundesliga, as we said before, that there haven't been too many home wins, have there, in the 2 weekends? So maybe it has taken away a little bit of that home advantage, but it remains to be seen, doesn't it?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we'll live or die by the results on the pitch. But I mean, what do you make of the proposed changes to bringing it down to like 5 substitutes instead of 7? Which is, I mean, you can't I don't think you can change the rules in the middle of the season, can you?
Well, obviously you can, because they've decided that you can. Look, I don't really understand why they've done that. I just don't get it. But they've done it, so we've sort of got to cope with it. But it's just, I think it is just one of those things where you've almost got to blank out everything and just think, right, we've got to start winning football games. And straight away I had 1 or 2 managers saying, well, we might have to play 3 games a week. It's too much. Listen, I'm not being funny. All the top teams, that's all they've done for years. Saturday, Tuesday or Wednesday and Saturday again. So I don't get that. And I also don't get the fact that, players aren't that fit. But maybe they've been away. They all have like particular things that they have to do, and it's recorded by the club. Players don't get unfit anymore. And yeah, you might have 1 or 2 strains and 1 or 2 pulls when it starts, but you would get that anyway. So I think everybody's had their say, but I think generally once we get going, I really do think it will be fine. Presuming, of course, that nobody, God hope that nobody goes down with COVID and stuff, and then obviously, Lord alone knows what.
One again.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Well, I mean, they are looking at increasing it up to groups of 6 people next week anyway, which is good if you want to go and play golf, I suppose. It's but yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see with it. I mean, obviously we want to finish the season, but we like I said, the integrity of the competition. I mean, any momentum that any of the teams have had will have gone. Basically, this is the longest break that any of the players would have had in their careers, probably. I mean, you probably, apart from when you're injured, you've never had this is a lot longer than pre-season would have been.
Well, yeah, I suppose when I started at Preston in what would be Division 1 now, we've probably got about 8 weeks, I think, between the end of the season and the start of the next season. But it's some teams, like if you look at Tottenham are happy because Kane's going to be fit, Son's going to be fit. I don't know who else have been injured, but they had a few injuries, and you were kind of looking at them before we were met with Corona, and you're thinking they're not going to stay in or get in the top 4, but it looks like they probably will now with all the players available. Some will win, some will lose, and I mean that both on and off the pitch. That's the way that it is.
Yeah, and like I said, our running as well. We've got. I mean, we were saying before all of this hit that we wanted to get safe by the end of March, because the good news in April we've got 3 games at home. The bad news is they're against Liverpool, Man United, and Man City.
Well, I mean, listen. When are you due to play Liverpool?
A date in the future. But
right. So what I'm saying is, could they have won the league?
What, you need 2 points, is it?
I don't know. Listen, I can't remember last week, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying
It's pretty much done.
right.
They reckon that.
Yeah.
They were saying that if it was before this hit, they were saying they would probably do it depending on what Man City did in the game before. They would have won it at Goodison.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, what I'm going to say to you is that if they've won the league, it ain't the same game for them. Then I mean, they won't be chasing any records, and I don't care what you say. Once you win that Premier League, it's not the same. You're not 100%. They're not in any other cup competition. I don't know. That's right. So you might, Jurgen Klopp, that might just play some of the kids. I mean, I remember one year we won the old Div 1 with about 7 or 8 games to go. I don't think we won a game, because it was just like, well, we're on our holidays. It's happy days. So, it's one of those, and it might actually be a really good time to play them, or they might need to win. They might need to win at the Amex. So good luck with that.
Yeah. But the difference is, Lawro, back in your day when you're 8 games to go, all the pubs were open.
Yeah. Well, that's very, very true indeed. In fact, you know what? That's the big. Apart from football, that's the biggest thing I miss. I live right slap bang in the centre of this village, and I walk out 100 yards, and I've just got bars and cafes and everything, and it's just like, wow, just a ghost town.
You should start brewing your own.
Yeah. Well, I have been doing some self-intoxicating. It would be fair to say. It's called Whispering Angel. If you've ever had any of that rosé, oh my God, it's intravenous. I've had it.
Who knew? Okay, well, let's change tack a little bit here. Now, obviously, a few weeks ago, we got the very sad news that we lost a good friend of yours in Michael Robinson, and I didn't actually realise until we saw that there was a quote that came from you, that how incredibly linked your lives actually were.
Yeah. I first met him. I mean, he lived in Blackpool. I lived in St Anne's, Lytham St Anne's. We used to travel in together to train. I first met him playing cricket against him. He was playing for Blackpool. I was playing for Preston, and caught him out, stopped him getting 50. He was on 47 not out. Unbelievable catch, not. And we sort of knew each other then. We knew of each other because I was actually on a Sunday. I was playing for a team in Blackpool, a Sunday league team and stuff. And he was playing for, there was 2 really good teams. He played for one, I played for the other. So he then came to Preston when I was already there. I didn't play in the first team with him at Preston because he would be about a year below me. Obviously, I went to Brighton. Robbo got in the first team at Preston. My stepfather was a director of the football club who sold him to Manchester City for 750 grand. It was an absolute steal. My stepfather, Tom, said to me, Man City started bidding at £250,000 and it went to 750,000 because Malcolm Allison was the manager. And he told the chairman, I think it was Peter Swale, said, we're desperate to this fella. To get this fella, he's going to be an absolute world beater. Then, of course, next thing is he turns up at Brighton, followed me playing for Ireland. And when I went to Liverpool, so this would be, I went in, 81. So I think Robbo joined in about 83, I think. Pre-season, we're in Switzerland. Joe Fagan had just been announced the new manager. And I came downstairs one morning. I think we were playing that night. Came downstairs one morning and he said, I need to have a word with you. And I thought, I'm in trouble. And we called him Joe. We didn't call him boss. He just wanted to be called Joe. I said, what have I done, Joe? He said, no, you're all right. He said, Michael Robinson. I said, do you know what, Joe? I said, he's followed me around everywhere. And he said, well, I've got news for you. He's on his way here today. So, I mean, that was good. But, yeah, and he did. I remember when he came to the club at Liverpool, and it is daunting because you just look around, you see all these players and all these winning 3 trophies every year and all that kind of stuff. And he just said to me, "What's it like?" I said, "It's crap." obviously joking. He said, "What do I need to do?" And I just said, "Look, I said they bought you for the way that you play. Don't change the way that you play, because if you do, you won't be anywhere near the team, because there's a certain Dalglish who's a genius and a fella called Ian Rush who scores for fun." I said, "So just do what you do," which was obviously, he held the ball up well, he was big and he was strong, he was a handful, got you some goals. And he did really well. He had a good run in the team because Kenny got injured. And Kenny broke his cheekbone and stuff. So I think Michael has the best pro rata record of any Liverpool player in terms of games linked to trophies. I worked it out. I think he played 51, 52 games and won three trophies. So it's like for every 17 games, he won a trophy. And it was better than anybody who was there. And we'd all won. Well, I ended up winning 11 or 12 or whatever. But he did great. And the thing about him, and I tweeted a few times about him that obviously when he passed away, he just always had a smile on his face. And he loved a lunch. And it was well into the old boy network at Madrid. With Real Madrid, he was invited with like Alfredo Di Stefano, which was like, he was just an absolute god who played for Real Madrid and that. And they'd meet once a month on a Wednesday lunchtime, and he'd be there and holding the court and stuff like that. He was just a great fellow. And if you think about what he did, he was a bit like Des Lynam, like what Des did with Match of the Day and Grandstand and all those kind of things. But actually, he was doing it in a second language. And when you really sit and think about that, you think, wow. And I think also his program, which was basically, I think in Spanish it meant, the day after, which was the Monday.
Yeah, it was,
after everyone had played, he sort of, it was a little bit of an irreverent look, and they didn't slaughter the referee and all that. They just said, well, they got a job to do. And I think it was just the way that he did it that everybody loved. And his favourite story, and of course he told everyone, because that's the way that Robbo was that he'd interviewed Sevi Ballesteros, and they'd been for lunch in Madrid. And he said after a few glasses of red and stuff, they came out and were walking down the street to go separate ways. And he said they bumped into 7 different people. 6 of them asked for Robbo's autograph, and only 1 asked for Sevi's. That's Robbo, and he just dines out. He did dine out and stuff like that. So it was a big shot. We knew he was poorly, but in the last weeks and months, he wasn't anywhere to be seen or heard. So I presume, obviously, he'd almost sort of had the bad news what was going to happen, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Graham C. was very close to him as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Graham. Well, Graham talked to him all the time. In fact, they struck up a real kind of healthy relationship at the club. I mean, they lived out on the Wirral, and but I can't remember exactly. But when Graham left to go to Sampdoria after he won the European Cup in '84 in Rome, he bought Robbo like a Cartier bracelet thing, just a male version of it, just for being his mate, which obviously was a touch of class.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Robbo was he was a hero here at Brighton as well. He still holds the top flight scoring record, which I don't think will ever be beaten. Actually, I mean, he came a bit earlier than you thought. He was must have been 82 that he came.
Okay.
And he scored, and he scored 22 goals for us that season, which is still a record. Which I don't think will be beaten.
No, well, I mean, if you ask most Brighton fan or even an ex-player, I would have thought Wardy would have done that, but Wardy didn't score too many goals in Div 1, did he?
No. His hot streak was the first in the old second division and third division, yeah. But I mean, Wardy was well, we all know Wardy. He's a good egg, Wardy, but Robbo's record there, and of course the '83 Cup final as well, which still it gets talked about a heck of a lot around here. And I mean, I've got to ask you, should he have passed?
Yeah, I think it was the right decision to pass. To be fair, well, I think the thing with Robbo is he wasn't a cool finisher. Do you know what I mean? I think when he had time to think about it, it wasn't quite the same. When it just happened and he biffed it, it worked. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, Gordon Smith's still apologising for that miss even now, so it's
quite right.
he says I prefer. I like everyone talked about the miss. What about the save from Gary Bailey? Is his argument.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, and obviously you obviously followed him into the media as well, and as you mentioned there, his career in Spain, and again in a second language, is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And you know, he was such a big star in Spain, wasn't he?
Well, he was massive. He was. I can't really think of anybody that I can compare him to in this country, because there really seriously wasn't. Not in a way where, as I said before, it was his second language. And I think that was, I remember when he first started, and he went to Osasuna, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said to himself in Osasuna that, you know what, I'm not going to be one of those lads that can't do an interview after a match, you know, speak like broken Spanglish or whatever it was. And he really did get his head down and, you know, studied the language. But what they were saying was, why they really liked him was that he got quite a lot of it wrong, but he wasn't frightened to do it. And they loved him. And many people they just liked the fact that he'd be on doing an interview. And while technically it might not have been, you know, A1, grade 1, whatever, it was still brilliant. So in terms of, they absolutely loved it.
Yeah. But I mean, also, didn't he buy your house in Brighton as well?
Listen, he stole it off me. He didn't buy it. It was I'd had it all done up, and it was in the driveway. And I tell you what, I'm trying to think how much he paid for it. I think he paid 67 grand, and I should have got at least 90. I was far too soft.
I mean, you've been down to Brighton a couple of times. I mean, it's changed a bit since your day down here, but I mean, you do love coming down here, don't you?
Loved it. I absolutely. Listen, you know, I remember my mother cried when I left, and I'd never even driven to Manchester, so I drove I bought an orange Toyota Corolla. Oh my goodness me, it was like minging, and of course there's no mobile phones or anything. So I remember coming down on the Sunday, and I had to find my digs and everything, all that kind of thing. It took me 7 hours. My mother thought I was dead, because of course, you know, I made a phone call as soon as I got to the house. But there was no, if you remember, there's no M25, no M23. There was nothing, basically. It took me an absolute eternity, but I'm glad I made it. And of course, the owner of the house that I stayed in, his name was Derek Dew, but he was known as Dinky Dew. And they had a dog called Scooby. I mean, honestly, it was great. It was fab. It was like, you know, my mother would say to me, "Are they feeding you? You know, what's your bedroom like?" and all that kind of. And they were fabulous. They were fabulous with me. They were great. They were brilliant.
And it's like a lot of people. I mean, when they move here now, obviously the place is definitely been upgraded from those days. But I mean, you know, it's still it's a holiday destination, and people absolutely adore coming here. And the players, I mean, that like a player like Bruno, who
Sure.
Had a fantastic career in Spain, came to us, but you know, he's made his home here. Him and his family are obviously all Spanish, and they've made their home here, and they absolutely love it here.
Well, I think the other thing about it as well, I actually think it was nicer when I was there than it was when I went down a few months ago. It just looked a little bit seedy, but that was the seafront, which, you know, it's like going to Blackpool in it, but not as bad. But listen, if you're a foreign player coming there, you're in London in less than an hour. You know, you can live Haywards Heath, all those kind of places, and obviously it's a lot less than that. So you've really got the best of both worlds as well. And the other thing, you've got Gatwick. Gatwick's massive, trains massive into Victoria. Just a really good place to play. And I think anywhere by the sea. I mean, obviously I live in Southport. We've just got miles and miles of beach. And it's fabulous at the moment because the weather is absolutely brilliant. So it does half make a difference to your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay. Well, I mean, it's actually sounded like you should have been an agent for a few Liverpool players and sell that. I mean, we'll have a few of them if you want to have a word with them and get them down to Brighton. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, if you can afford
that
them.
Mane fella would fit right in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they all. In fact, one of my mates has just moved into Allison's house, the goalkeeper.
Oh yeah.
But where I am, right, we have an old team. We have. Listen to this. This is. We all live within, and I'm being honest here. We all live within less than a mile of each other. So it goes Dalglish, Hansen, Lawrenson, Whelan, Gillespie, McMahon, Bagelin, Alan Kennedy, occasionally Bruce Grobbelaar. Yeah, I think that's it. I think there's about 8 of us, and we just see each other all the time, which is fab, obviously.
It's a bit. That's a hell of a five-a-side team, isn't it?
Well, if you saw us all, we're all crocked. We've got no chance.
Okay. Well, I mean, just before we leave it, there obviously Liverpool going to win the league. I mean, there is an argument of saying if it wasn't for the 30-year gap between when you last won it, that there may be they might follow suit with like the Scotland and Holland and France in calling time on it, but. It's going to be a massive achievement for Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what, and it's whatever happens. I think it's the right thing to do. If you can finish the season, because otherwise the ramifications were nuts. Because what would you do about even my second team, Preston? They're in the playoff position in the Championship. So can you deny them that? So by doing it this way, I think you answer the questions. If you don't do it this way and finish the league, there are more questions than answers. But Liverpool are great. I mean, I've seen most of the home games, just the way they play the football. But the biggest single thing is the pace at which they play the football. That's why they just completely overwhelm teams. And the front three are, I've said this for a while, and people at first said to me that's rubbish, I said the front three are the best in Europe. And then everyone would go to me, what about Paris Saint-Germain, the front three? But the front three that they've got, Liverpool, Firmino and Mane and obviously Salah, they work so hard without the ball. And the manager, Ady, is one of those, he's just like, he's got so much charisma. He's got loads of time for you. And, previous managers you see all the trophies that they won and all the pictures of the old players and all that. And some previous managers have taken them off the walls. And Klopp just is like, no. That's the history. And he said, if they want to come here and watch training and they want to come talk to me. And he's absolutely fabulous. He really, seriously is. And he's a massive part of why they're going to win it.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I mean, you said PSG there, but it's a well-known adage that the best players don't necessarily make the best team.
No, well, I mean, I've been reading a few things about. Remember Ian Boyer, who played for not Forest?
Yeah.
Won 2 European Cups, and he would say he wasn't the best player, but in that team it just absolutely totally worked, and that's all it's about. You're absolutely right. Best 11 players aren't generally the best team, but I think the thing with Liverpool as well is when you look at the purchase of Van Dijk and Alisson, they really seriously have just looked a fabulous outfit.
Okay, and when it does restart, how do you think Brighton are going to get on?
I think you're going to stay up by sort of just stay up. As I said to you at the start, this is not the time to go down as well, because with all the money, the whole kind of money that all the clubs are losing at the moment, that whole kind of thing, and the chairman can only put his hand in his pocket so many times, can't he? So I just think this next, or the 6 weeks the league's open is, I think, the most important time in Brighton's history as a football team, because this is not the year to be relegated. No,
and of course it's not just about. But at the end of the day, it's not just about the Premier League. It's about the rest of the pyramid as well. And we have to look out for the smaller clubs, and hopefully that they can all survive.
But you know what, Ady? I mean, I'm one of the advocates, which would be, the Premier League, because there's so much money, it's awash with money. They should feed some of their money through to the lower leagues, because look at the number of players who played in the lower leagues have come through and played in the Premier League, and without it, we don't have that kind of like a nursery, for want of a better description, for the players to come through. I think it's so important. But you know what? You do get the feeling that it's the Premier League and then it's the rest. And Brighton have been up and down, so they know what that's all about. And you do feel that it is the rest, and it's like the Premier League is mild. It's like the Holy Grail for many people.
Yeah. But like I said, there is football outside of the Premier
Yeah,
League, and it's just as important. And it's not just about the top 20. It's about, oh well, you know what it's like. Football, it's a community. It's very much like, I mean, like you said, you're a big fan of Preston, I know, because I mean that's where you come from, and it's
yeah,
like it's more a football club is more about, it's not just about the 22 blokes kicking a bag of air around of grass every Saturday. It's about the community. It's about
yeah.
how it makes you feel and bringing those people together. And
Well,
and football without fans is nothing.
no, yeah, and also that's why I don't think there'll ever be a European League. Certainly not for ages, because you know, so you play Cologne in the European League. Well, you're not going to get fellas arguing, are you, about how good are Cologne and how good are Liverpool, rather than if it was Liverpool versus Man United. And I think that's one of the big things is that we love all that banter between clubs, but you're never going to get that if it's got a European League. So hopefully we won't have that. Hopefully.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it there, Mark. Thanks so much for your time. Clearly, when Liverpool do come down to Brighton and Brighton pick up those vital 3 points that keep us up, and we'll have another chat with you then. But thank you so much, Mark Lawrenson.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.